Hey, this is Paul again, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys a very important video. Just so you know, this is probably the most important video that I'm going to be making regarding Witness Lee's cult, regarding the local churches, aka the Lord's Recovery. This is probably the most important video that I'm going to make because it really exposes the tactics of the local churches. They're very non-transparent, opaque, hidden tactics that they apply in their college ministry. And it's really going to expose how they trick young people into believing that they're an orthodox, a genuine Christian group. And so it's really important. It's important for parents who have children that are going to be in college. It's important for college students, for high school students that are going to be going into college. So this is a very important video, and I'm just going to say this up front. If this video blesses you, if it's a blessing to you and you're helped by it, then please share it. Please share the video with others because this is not for views. This is not for subscriptions, for subscribers. This is to get the word out because there are still a lot of people, especially in this country, in the United States, that are just not very knowledgeable about this group and who they really are. And there are a lot of people who may not be in the group, but who may think and have heard that the group is okay, that they're just a regular Christian group. And that's just not so. So I really would appreciate it if anybody who's blessed by this video, please share it with others, with people in college, with parents, so that they can know who this group, the local churches, aka the Lord's Recovery, so they can know who they really are. So I do ask you to share this video if it's a blessing to you. And again, this is a very big point that I'm going to be covering. It's going to be a number of videos that I'm going to have to do to expose the hidden tactics that the local churches use to get young people in colleges to join their group. And it's how I was caught up into this group. I was duped, I was tricked, just like many others were. And so the local churches, with their college ministry, they have adapted, okay? They have adapted to the onslaught of accusations against them because there have been many accusations against him for the past decades and even up until now. Many accusations against this group that they are a cult. Accusations from churches, from college ministries, even from very well-known Christian apologetic and research groups have been accusing this group, the local churches, of being a cult for a long time. And so the way that the local churches, Witness Lee's group, has adapted to all of these accusations is they have become much more subtle and I would say crafty in their approach as to how they introduce and also spread the writings, the teachings of Witness Lee. So basically, just in a nutshell, I'll just say this up front, the way that they adapted is by initially, when they first meet you, they will be very non-transparent. They will be very opaque. They will hide who they are, what they believe, what they do, who they read, and what they want from you. And they will try to pass themselves off or try to make it appear that they are just happy-go-lucky, typical, simple Bible believers. And again, that is not the case. So I'm going to give you one example of their tactics. And the first example of their hidden tactics is in the very name that they call themselves on college campuses. So you would think that, this group, the local churches, aka the Lord's Recovery, you would think that if they're going to have a college ministry on campus, they would call themselves the local churches, right? Or maybe the Lord's Recovery, right? Or, of course, they would never go so far to call themselves the Witness Lee fan club. They would never say that. They would never be so upfront about who they are and what they believe. So the way that this group firstly tries to appear normal is in the names that they call themselves on college campuses. Now, the general name for this group on college campuses is called Christians on Campus. Christians on Campus. Boy, doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound normal? That sounds very generic and inclusive, but don't be deceived. These are not generic Christians, and they are by no means inclusive. They are actually very exclusive. They have an elitist theology. They are a cult. So Christians on Campus has been around for a long time. But as I mentioned earlier, this group has had to adapt to face the onslaught of accusations that have caused them to lose a lot of members. So the way that they have adapted is a lot of these college campuses, a lot of these college ministries of the local churches, they have started to stray away from the Christians on Campus name to avoid the stigma, right, of being a cult. So there are still some campuses where they call themselves Christians on Campus. You know, they're just unashamed. They don't care. They're just going to stick with the Christians on Campus name. They're faithful to that, you know, original name, college ministry name, Christians on Campus. So there are Christians on campuses still around. But a lot of the popular and successful college ministries that have really just been thriving, especially here in Texas, have been changing their names to avoid the stigma and therefore are being questioned less about who they are. And so I'm going to give you some of the names of this group, and they have a lot of different names. So just like a mentally unstable person or a dangerous person who uses a lot of different aliases, a lot of different names because of their sketchy past, and they always have to be on the run. Similar to that, this group has a lot of different names. So I'm gonna tell you some of their names. One of the names that they've changed their college ministry to is Christians at such and such university. So, for example, at Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas, they are simply called Christians at Tech. Again, sounds very nice, doesn't it? Sounds very generic and inclusive. Christians at Tech. So it's Christians at Tech or Christians at such and such university. Again, a very generic name. Another name that they call themselves is Christian students at such and such university. So at the University of North Texas in Denton, they are Christian students at UNT. So again, a very generic name. You know, you wouldn't think anything of it, right? Just by hearing that name. Another name that they're called is, for example, at the University of Texas in Austin, at UT, where they're really, really big, they call themselves Christian students on campus. So see how they kind of changed it up a little bit there? They're no longer Christians on campus, but now they're Christian students on campus. So these are just some of the names. I don't know if this includes all of the names. I doubt it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's new names that they've come up with ever since I've left a few years ago. And thank God I did. So just be aware. Christians on campus, Christian students on campus, Christian students at your university, or just simply Christians at your university, Christians at Tech. All of these all of these belong to the same group, the local churches, the so-called Lord's Recovery, which is a cult. It is a theological personality cult obsessed with Witness Lee. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on the college ministry before I go on to further points. So I hope it'll just help make sense of what I'm going to be saying in a few minutes. So just a little bit of background. In the 60s and in the 70s, in the hippie era, the college ministry of the local churches operated very differently. Things were a lot different back in the 60s and in the 70s.